guys, welcome back to the channel. And for today's video, we're just going to have a quick deck list update for the Rakdos aggro deck. So as you can see in this video, the visual view of the deck from a recent last 2022 qualifiers by Hariruya. This is in Akihabara, Japan. This was played by Hiroshi Nishimura, and we call it the Rakdos Warlock. So when we say the Warlock version, it is with the enchantment or the class enchantment for the Warlock class. So this uncommon saga from Adventures in the Forgotten Realms has these following abilities, and it's one to cast, black mana cost. The beginning of your end step, if your creature dies this turn, each opponent loses 1 life. Then you put it on level 2. When this class becomes level 2, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them in your hand and the rest in your bottom to your graveyard, And you pay 7 for level 3. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses life equal to the life they've lost this turn. So it's good end game effect, and at the same time it's a way of to print off additional damage with the lose life effects in the early turns as you go along with casting your early threats and creatures, and what card that maybe you may have to combo with it, or when you say creatures dying in your turn, or for each turn you can say, for your turn because it's your end step, right? So we have effects like just these. We have Hungry for More from Minute Hunt. So it is sorcery that creates a 3/1 black and red vampire token with trample, lifelink, and haste. So you can basically attack it for 3 on the turn and sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So at your end turn, basically you can take only a 1 attack, but with the benefit of having to trample against blockers. You can also have lifelink to gain life you've lost if ever for the other effects or from combat damage. And at the same time, you can flashback it for 3 for another round of 3/1 attacking for your board. And this effect whenever it dies. So we have several triggers here aside from the Warlock class. We also have the Mithawk Massacre, wherein the same output whenever a creature control dies, its opponent loses 1 life. So with this effect, you can see that we have also several creatures that are very cheap to cast, and at the same time can be a good late game mana sink, and also a good threat, for instance. So we have Tainted Adversary, which you can get to pay 3 more whenever it produces more zombie tokens for your 5th turn or more if needed. Then we have Tenacious Underdog. It's a 2-drop for 3/2, but at the same time you can blitz it for 4, wherein you can cast this creature from a graveyard using its blitz ability. So at the same time, you can also set up sacrifice effects with the Deadly Dispute. So you're casting this, you can sacrifice an artifact or creature to draw 2 cards and also to create a treasure token. At the same time, ramping up your mana if needed for the treasure token for you to produce in the late game. So aside from that, we have also several copies of Fable of the Mirror. This is basically tuition in most of the decks and Rakdos builds. Then we have Akiba Reckoner Raid. So this is just a 1-drop saga, but its effect to having opponents lose life and gain life, and then you have 2/2 body with menace on your 3rd turn. That is if ever you were able to play this in the 1st turn and ramp up tick up the saga lore counters. So if you notice, they also have several manlands in the build. We have the Bugbear for 3 copies and 1 copy of Hive the Tyrant, and also having utility cards such as Sakensan and Takinuma for getting a relevant creature or planeswalker from the graveyard. But that's also one noticeable effect of this deck, is that they didn't have any Loth or Sorin in the main deck. So I think this is basically more on having cheap creatures to deal early damage and then wiping up the board if you're faced against another aggro deck with the Mithawk Massacre, or at the same time you can have Warlock class to pick up and have opponents lose life with its additional effects, and maybe combined with the Warlock class and Mithawk Massacre and along with some creatures that you can sacrifice or bring back at the end of the game, or for the late game, and basically have your opponent's life totals to 0. So we check the sideboard. This is pretty much basic with 4 Duress for discard against control, Ray Enfeeblement 4 copies against mono white aggro, a Braid against artifact shenanigans, and maybe also 3 damage to any target creature, and 3 copies of Grave Trespasser also for graveyard shenanigans. So Estimate becomes a threat that can be a good attacker itself because of its ward effect that can protect you for killing without the opponent's discarding a card. And last but not the least, we have 2 copies of Morbid Opportunist. Whenever 1 or more creature die, draw a card, and this triggers only 1 this turn. So this is really a good addition, but I'm not sure why they did not have it as a main deck. Maybe because it's not very aggressive enough because of the 3 mana cost. This may be because for the late game or more of a mid game plan against slow opponents build. So for the sideboarding tips, you can have to put in against mid range. We have Duress and maybe give a Trespasser if you expect some these opponents that go with a flashback effect. Then you can have it put in the main deck to get rid of their flashback spells. Also, when you go in with these cards, you can basically maybe cut off a few ineffective cards such as this one, maybe for since if you're not really expecting creatures against them, so you can basically cut off this one, and you try to have many consistent threats in your board as much as possible against mid-range to control decks. Now if you're facing against, let's say, a June mid-range, then a good combination of cards may be good against them. Duress also good sideboard, along with again Graveyard Trespasser to get rid of their underdogs or any other cards that may be able to flash back through the red adversary, and also a Braid against their Esika's Chariot. So if they will be able to resolve one, they can just basically destroy it with the effect of a Braid. So overall, I think this is a good update for Rakdos Warlock deck. I have observed also in a few of these online events submitted that they're also playing the same or a similar deck list with just some variants in Mythhawk and Akiba, I think, and this one also for this build, and they're more on leaning towards an aggro or a cheaper 3 mana or lesser mana cost in their lineup to have their board filled as early as possible against slow opponent decks. So that's basically a wrap. This is a good update that we may find. So we'll also expect that for the next video we're going to discuss more on some cards or deck builds that may have to stay right after the upcoming standard rotation with the coming of Dominaria United. So that's about it. Thank you for watching this video, and for updates and Magic the Gathering, I would suggest you subscribe to the channel, like, and turn on notifications for more updates and other Magic related stuff. Thank you for watching, and until next time.